You know that feeling when the person who's supposed to believe in you the most doesn't? When the voice that should lift you up is the same one tearing you down? That was my entire childhood. And that voice belonged to my mother. My name is Elena, and for as long as I can remember, my mother, Victoria Ashford, was a name that commanded respect in the art world. She was the head curator at the prestigious Galerie Moderne in the city. Critics hung on her every word. Artists begged for her approval. One nod from her could make a career. One dismissive glance could end it. But for me, her own daughter, I got nothing but cold silence and cutting words. I was 8 years old when I first showed her my drawings. I remember clutching that sketchbook so tightly, my knuckles turned white. I was so proud. I'd drawn a field of sunflowers. The way the light hit them in our backyard. I thought she'd smile. Maybe hang it on the fridge like other moms did. Instead, she barely looked up from her wine glass. Elena, this is cute. But art isn't about being cute. It's about vision, depth, something you clearly don't have. I was 8. And it didn't stop there. Every birthday, every school art show, every moment I tried to share my passion with her, she found a way to diminish it. In front of relatives, she'd laugh and say, "Oh, Elena likes to doodle. But she's not really an artist. Not like the real ones I work with." At family dinners, when people asked what I wanted to be when I grew up, she'd answer for me. "Elena will probably do something practical. Accounting, maybe. She's not cut out for the arts." I tried so hard to prove her wrong. I stayed up late, perfecting techniques. I studied the masters she worshipped. I entered competitions. And every single time, she had a reason why it wasn't good enough. Too derivative. No originality. "You're copying, not creating." By the time I was 16, I'd stopped showing her anything. I painted in secret, in the small studio apartment I rented with money from my part-time job. I poured every ounce of pain, every rejection, every silent scream into my canvases. My art became my therapy, my rebellion, my proof that I existed. But here's the thing about growing up with a mother like that. You start to believe her. Even when you're creating something beautiful, there's a voice in your head whispering, "It's not good enough. You're not good enough." I was 25 when I finally moved across the country. I needed distance. I needed to breathe. I needed to create without her shadow looming over me. And I did. I painted more in that first year away from her than I had in my entire life. Abstract pieces. Emotional, raw, chaotic. I painted my anger, my sadness, my desperate need to be seen. But I never signed them with my real name. I used a pseudonym, a shield, because even though she was 1,000 miles away, I could still hear her voice. And I wasn't ready for the world to hear it too. Not yet. For 2 years, I lived in a tiny apartment in Portland, working as a waitress by day and painting by night. My life was simple, quiet, and for the first time, I felt like I could breathe. I didn't talk to my mother. She didn't reach out either. It was like I'd never existed to her in the first place. But my art started to find its voice. I began posting pieces online under the name Mira. No face, no backstory, just the work. Raw, emotional paintings that seemed to resonate with people in ways I never expected. A small local gallery reached out. They wanted to feature a few pieces in a group show. I almost said no. The fear was still there, coiled tight in my chest. But something pushed me forward. The show was a success. People connected with the work. They stood in front of my paintings and cried. They told me stories of their own pain, their own struggles. And for the first time in my life, I felt seen. More galleries started reaching out. Collectors, too. Mira was becoming a name people whispered about in certain circles. Mysterious, talented, emotional. And I kept my identity hidden. Because if my mother ever found out, if she ever knew it was me, I couldn't handle that rejection again. Not when I was finally starting to believe in myself. Then, one day, I got an email that made my blood run cold. It was from Galerie Moderne, my mother's gallery. They wanted to feature Mira in their upcoming exhibition, a solo show. They called my work groundbreaking, and deeply moving. They said I had a unique voice that the art world desperately needed. I stared at that email for hours. This was the gallery that had launched countless careers, the gallery my mother had built her reputation on. And they wanted me. But they didn't know it was me. And my mother? She was still the head curator. She would be the one organizing the show, promoting it, praising it. The irony was almost too much to bear. Part of me wanted to ignore it, to protect myself, to keep Mira separate from Elena, the daughter who was never good enough. But another part of me, the part that had been silenced for so long, wanted to say yes, wanted to walk into that gallery and prove, once and for all, that I was an artist. I spent 3 days agonizing over the decision. I didn't sleep. I barely ate. I just painted. Furiously. Desperately. And then I made my choice. I replied to the email. I said yes. But I had one condition. The exhibition would remain anonymous. Mira would not reveal her identity until the final night. Until after the sales. After the critics had weighed in. After my mother had praised the work without knowing whose hands had created it. They agreed. And just like that, the stage was set for the reckoning I didn't even know I needed. The weeks leading up to the exhibition were surreal. I stayed in Portland but communicated with the gallery through email and video calls, always keeping my face off camera, always using voice modulation software. I told them Mira was intensely private, an artist who let the work speak for itself. They ate it up. The mystery only added to the intrigue. My mother gave interviews about the upcoming show. I watched them online, my stomach twisting with every word. This artist, Mira, is extraordinary, she said in one interview, her voice dripping with authority. Her work has a rawness, a vulnerability that you rarely see in contemporary art. She's someone to watch, a true visionary. I laughed. Then I cried. Then I laughed again. She had no idea. The opening night arrived faster than I expected. I flew back to the city under my real name, Elena Ashford, but I told no one I was coming. I booked a small hotel room and prepared myself. I dressed carefully that night. Simple black dress, minimal makeup. I wanted to blend in, to be invisible, just another face in the crowd. When I walked into Galerie Moderne, my hands were shaking. The space was packed. Collectors, critics, journalists, all gathered around my paintings. My work, the pieces I'd bled onto canvas in the darkest hours of my life. And there, in the center of it all, was my mother. She looked exactly the same. Elegant, poised, untouchable. She moved through the crowd like a queen, gesturing at my paintings, explaining the emotional depth and technical brilliance of the mysterious Mira. I stood in the back and just watched. A man next to me whispered to his companion, "I heard one of the pieces already sold for 75,000, and there's a bidding war on the centerpiece. $75,000. For my art. The art my mother said would never amount to anything." I felt something shift inside me. Not anger, not sadness. Something quieter, stronger. Vindication. I moved closer, weaving through the crowd. I stopped in front of one of my favorite pieces. It was called Silenced, a chaotic swirl of blacks and deep blues, with a single streak of gold breaking through the darkness. My mother appeared beside me, her voice smooth and practiced. "Beautiful, isn't it? The artist has this incredible ability to convey pain and hope simultaneously. It's quite rare." I turned to look at her. She didn't recognize me. Why would she? I was just another guest, another nobody. "Do you know the artist?" I asked, my voice steady. She smiled. "Unfortunately, no. Mira is very private, but her work speaks volumes. This piece, for example, sold for $82,000 this evening." 82,000. I nodded slowly. "That's incredible. She must be very talented." "She is," my mother said. "One of the best emerging artists I've seen in years. I have a gift for spotting true talent." I wanted to laugh. I wanted to scream. Instead, I just smiled. "I'm sure you do," I said softly. And then, I walked away. But the night wasn't over. Not even close. The exhibition ran for 2 weeks. Every single piece sold. The total? Just over $650,000. 650,000. The art world was buzzing. Mira was the name on everyone's lips. My mother gave interview after interview, taking credit for discovering this incredible new talent. She was riding high, and I let her. Because I knew what was coming. The gallery had planned a special closing event, a reveal. The mysterious Mira would finally step forward and meet the collectors, the press, the world. My mother was thrilled. She'd organized the entire thing. A champagne reception, a stage, a microphone. She had no idea she was setting the stage for her own humiliation. The night of the reveal, the gallery was packed even tighter than opening night. Everyone wanted to see the face behind the art, the woman my mother had championed so passionately. I arrived early, dressed in a deep red gown, my hair styled, makeup perfect. I wanted her to see me, really see me. The gallery director, a kind woman named Isabel, greeted me warmly. She was one of the few who knew the truth. "Are you ready?" she asked gently. I nodded. "I've been ready my whole life." The event began. My mother took the stage first, as expected. She spoke eloquently about the exhibition's success, about Mira's extraordinary talent, about the gallery's commitment to uplifting new voices. The crowd hung on her every word. Then she smiled. "And now, the moment you've all been waiting for. Please join me in welcoming the artist herself, Mira." The room erupted in applause. I took a deep breath, and I walked onto that stage. The applause continued, but I saw the exact moment my mother's face changed. Her smile froze. Her eyes widened. The color drained from her face. She knew. I took the microphone from her trembling hand. Our eyes locked. And in that moment, I saw something I'd never seen before. Fear. I turned to the crowd, my voice calm and clear. "Thank you all so much for being here tonight. My name is Elena Ashford, but you know me as Mira." Whispers rippled through the room. I continued. "Some of you might recognize my last name. Victoria Ashford, the curator of this incredible gallery, is my mother." The whispers grew louder. I saw journalists pulling out their phones, collectors exchanging glances. My mother stood frozen beside me, unable to speak. "For most of my life," I said, my voice steady, "I was told I had no talent, that I wasn't a real artist, that I should give up and do something practical." I paused. Let the words hang in the air. Those words came from the woman standing next to me. The room went silent. You could hear a pin drop. Every eye in the room was on us. On me. On my mother, whose carefully constructed facade was crumbling in real time. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just spoke my truth. I grew up watching my mother champion artists from all over the world. She had this incredible gift for seeing talent, for nurturing it, for bringing it into the light. And I wanted that. I wanted her to see me the way she saw them. My voice wavered slightly, but I pushed forward. But every time I showed her my work, she found a reason to dismiss it. Too simple, too derivative, not good enough. I turned to look at her. She was shaking, so I stopped showing her. I stopped using my real name. I became Mira, and I created the art you've all been praising for the last 2 weeks. A journalist in the front row raised her hand. "Are you saying your mother didn't know it was you?" "She had no idea," I said. "Until this moment." The room erupted. Questions flew from every direction. My mother finally found her voice, stepping toward the microphone. "Elena, this isn't the place. Isn't it?" I cut her off, my voice sharper now. "You made this place your kingdom. You used it to build your reputation on the backs of artists you deemed worthy. And you told your own daughter she'd never be one of them." She opened her mouth to speak, but nothing came out. I turned back to the audience. "Here's the thing. I didn't do this for revenge. I did this because I needed to know the truth. I needed to know if my work was actually good, or if I'd just been listening to one person's opinion for too long." I gestured to the now empty walls where my paintings had hung. You answered that question. Every single one of you who bought a piece, who stood in front of my work and felt something. You gave me the answer I'd been searching for my whole life. A collector in the back called out, "So what now? Are you going to continue as Mira?" I smiled. No. Mira was a shield, a way to protect myself, but I don't need her anymore. From now on, I'm Elena Ashford, and I'm an artist. The applause started slowly. Then it built. Within seconds, the entire room was clapping. Some people were crying, others were smiling. A few journalists were furiously typing on their phones. And my mother? She stood there, tears streaming down her face, unable to move. The gallery director gently ushered her off the stage. I stayed for another hour, answering questions, accepting congratulations, finally allowing myself to be seen. But the moment that mattered most was the one right after I stepped off that stage. My mother was waiting in the back hallway, her makeup ruined, her hands trembling. She looked at me, and for the first time in my life, she said the words I'd been waiting to hear. I was wrong. In the days that followed, the story exploded. Art blogs, major news outlets, even social media influencers picked it up. Daughter exposes famous curator, mother after secret art sales was the headline everywhere. Some people called me brave. Others said I was cruel. The art world was divided. But I didn't care about their opinions anymore. For the first time in my life, I was free. My mother reached out a week later. We met at a quiet cafe, far from the galleries and the cameras. She looked smaller somehow, older. "I don't expect you to forgive me," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I need you to know, I was wrong. About everything." She paused, her hands wrapped around a cold cup of coffee. "I think I was jealous. Of your passion. Your fearlessness. You created because you loved it, not because you needed validation. And I couldn't stand that." I didn't respond right away. I let her words settle. "I don't know if we'll ever have a normal mother-daughter relationship," I said finally. "But I'm not carrying your words anymore. I'm done letting them define me." She nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks. "I understand." We didn't hug. We didn't make grand promises. But there was a quiet acknowledgement between us. A beginning, maybe. Or just an ending that didn't feel quite so bitter. 3 months later, I had my first official solo exhibition under my real name, Elena Ashford. No pseudonyms, no hiding. And it was the most freeing experience of my life. My mother didn't attend, but she sent flowers, a simple card attached. "I see you now. I'm sorry it took so long." It wasn't everything, but it was something. Here's what I learned through all of this. Your worth isn't determined by the people who refuse to see you. Not even if those people are supposed to love you the most. You don't need permission to be talented. You don't need validation to create. You just need the courage to believe in yourself, even when the world, and your own family, tells you not to. My art sold for 6 figures, but the real victory? That happened the moment I stopped waiting for my mother's approval and started trusting my own voice. Sometimes the best revenge isn't destruction. It's becoming exactly who you were meant to be, despite everything, despite everyone. And that's a masterpiece no one can take from you.